Hello, everyone. We are going to be talking about what we would like to see slash what we think will happen in season 2B of The Owl House. I've already touched on this in some videos I've made for this channel in the past, but this is different because we have a guest. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Virrow. That is my canonical name, given to me at birth. It is not a pseudonym. It is literally my name. It's a mononym, like Cher. I'm just kidding. That's not true. But I do videos about the Dragon Prince and the Owl House over on my channel, and I've been watching Joshua's videos since long before I had my channel. So it's awesome. It's awesome to be over here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime. We both started talking about the Dragon Prince a long time ago, but since the Dragon Prince has not aired any new seasons in
it's been 84 years.
Here we are.
Yes.
Talking about the Owl House. And just to let all you know, this is how it's going to work. We are going to each talk about 5 things that we want to see. I'll go and name my first thing, and then Virrow will name his, and then we'll go back and forth until we've named off all 5 things that we want to see slash expect to see in season 2B of The Owl House, which will start about a month from when we're recording this, March 19th. So without further ado, I will start with my first thing that I want to see, which is more Hunter. Hunter is the breakout star of season 2A. He is our lovable, emo, angsty teen who has a very difficult relationship with Balos, his mentor, guardian, and relative. And Hunter is left at a really weird position at the end of season 2A, because he very much sees how flawed Balos is, and he disagrees with Balos on a lot of things, including wild magic, which Hunter is very passionate about. But at the same time, he knows that without Balos, he's not really anyone. He's just a nobody who can't perform magic. Balos really took him in and lifted him up, gave him a sort of influence and prestige and power. And as importantly, he gave him the sense, however flawed and manipulative their relationship may be, that there is someone who actually cares about him and will try and take care of him. Hunter is very loath to leave that, so it'll be really interesting seeing how that will play out in season 2B, especially since the show is already going to have to come to its end with only a couple specials in our very short season 3 after the end of season 2B. So Hunter will probably have to make a decisive choice whether to stay with Balos or to side with Luce and our heroes. So that'll be a really interesting conflict to see play out. What's your number 1, Virrow?
Oh, I've got mine is pretty ambitious. My first one I put on my list, I put merging of the 2 worlds. Now that doesn't have to be permanent, but I want to see that happen. Where I want to see magical things flying around in like Luce's hometown and the skyline. I want to see like lasers and powers, witches blasting each other with like all kinds of magic. Like a king's family's tribe shows up. There's like 500 of them fighting like an army of golems. So yeah, mine starts off kind of ambitious. They're all kind of less ambitious from that point on. But what do you think about that? Do you think we'll see the 2 worlds like merge at some point, start to kind of go to each other?
Yeah, that's definitely been hinted at, and I think we might see that happen. I think a lot of people are skeptical about that. Like a lot of people I've talked to in the fandom, because like, have you ever seen Star versus the Forces of Evil?
Okay, so I don't know what happened with it, but I heard it was bad.
Yeah.
I heard...
It's the kind of bad that made a lot of fans kind of turn on the entire show.
Oh,
to the
jeez.
extent that it kind of happened for Game of Thrones.
Oh my gosh.
That
Yeah,
kind
because
of
I remember
bad.
hearing really good things about it, and it was on my list to watch. And then next thing I know, everybody hates it. I wasn't in it. I didn't know, but I wouldn't know what was going on. But I was like, oh my gosh, clearly they upset some people, some fans.
Yeah, it's really weird. I actually made a whole video talking about this finale and like, was it really that bad on my channel? And I came to the conclusion that yes and no. I mean, yes, in the sense that the finale is not good and it makes a lot of really questionable choices, but no, in the sense that, again, like with Game of Thrones, like it can't really be like the decline of the show and the extent to which the fandom turned on it can't really be pinned down to just one or two bad choices. It's a kind of series. It's a very gradual sort of decline and running out of ideas and just not really knowing what direction to take the show that's kind of encapsulated in a few extremely questionable moments that fans have kind of seized on to say that is why the show is not good anymore.
Oh, jeez. So is that essentially, because I'm not gonna watch this show. It sounds bad, but is that what happens in the end of that show? The two, like the magic side and the regular world, kind of mix. Is that
yeah?
There?
It's called Cleaved. The magic world and the human world mix, and except there. Star, the main character, just gets rid of all the magic and presumably maybe kills all the magical creatures.
Wait, what? Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, it's not to put that bluntly, but saying that a lot of these creatures depend on magic, and then she gets rid of magic, and then we don't see those creatures again, so...
Oh my gosh. This show sounds like they did not think this out very well when they wrote it.
They really didn't.
Was that like an oversight, or did they address... There was somebody like, Star, if you do this, people might... The magical creatures might die. Or did they just, like... Did the writers just, like, forget to add that in there? Or at all? Like, they're just like, oh, wait a minute. There's, like, magical creatures that live on magic. Was that kind of more of what it was? Like,
yeah, it's kind of glossed over. But as I was saying in that video I made, a lot of things are glossed over in those, especially in the last season, but even one could say the last two seasons of the show. They're just not as willing to kind of address these complications as they were in the first couple seasons, which is bad for any show, but especially a show like that's, kind of, hip, and or at least by a certain definition of hip, but self-aware, modern, like kind of ironic at times, and kind of mocking these traditional fantasy tropes. So I mean, if you are trying to be that kind of show and then you just fall into just completely not paying any attention to these huge oversights, that's a problem.
Yeah, I think a lot of shows have a hard time, like, kind of landing that plane if they didn't have a clear idea of where they were going. And I think you can always tell which shows do and which shows don't by the way that they end, definitely. So
yeah.
Did you say your number two?
Yeah, my number two is let's see. Something that we might both have, which is I want to know more about Balos. He's been teased as having this really interesting and nuanced backstory, but we haven't really seen any of that. At this point, we've seen some of it, perhaps, maybe. We don't really know. We know we have, like, he might be Philip, he might not be. We know he has some connection to those brothers that we keep hearing these references to, but that hasn't really been fully sketched out. So Balos just seems, even more than Andreas, kind of like this abstract threat. He doesn't feel as immediate and as menacing as I think he really should at this point.
Absolutely. Oh man, I thought about making a whole video about how bad of a villain Balos has been up to this point. But like I was like, who am I making this for? Like why am I making this? Like it just kind of got kind of ranty. I could give you, okay, so the TLDR, right, is essentially he's supposed to be this big bad guy, you know, the guy behind Lilith, who was established as kind of our kind of like inter-level villain, right? He's kind of like the Fire Lord. He's the guy behind the guy, right?
Right.
But he's so incompetent. He wants to get Ida. She's in town every day, and none of his guards get her. None of his people get her. He doesn't get her himself. This goes on for years and years and years. And there's also like the first time he meets Luz, our hero, he should absolutely like destroy her. Like not necessarily like beat her up or anything like that, but like with Andreas in Amphibia when he completely bested them. It threw Sprig out the window and killed Marcy and almost killed them. Like that's how you do it. You have, when you have your first encounter with the villain, you have to have the villain establish how big of a threat they are. But Luz bests him in their first encounter, and escapes with Ida, and I was like, oh, that's bad. But it also leads me to a little bit of a theory that he's not going to be our villain.
Ooh, who do you think that the villain will be?
I think it's going to either be an entirely new character, or it's going to maybe be the Titan. I don't think we're gonna have anybody already established be revealed to be the real villain. I think Kikimora might be a cool kind of Zootopia-esque twist, you know. But some people have said that, but I don't know if that's really where they're gonna go with that. I think he has such a soft face, and he's just so incompetent as a bad guy that it makes me really think, is he gonna be a good guy? Like, is that where they're going with this? Are they gonna flip him around in the very end? But I have a theory on my video that he is not actually, that he's kind of like possessed by Philip Whitbane, like that weird goo stuff on him is Philip Whitbane somehow, and somehow he got mixed with an actual person native of the Boiling Isles. It's based on nothing because, like you said, we've got like nothing to work on with him.
Yeah, I really thought that we would have more by this point, since again the show is going to be ending very soon.
Yeah, and they should have been building this guy up, and they really haven't been doing it. We've gotten a couple teases here and there, but it's more to do with Hunter, really. Like those scenes with Balos are more to emphasize Hunter's views on him. So it's like, that at least leads me to think that maybe he's not going to be our main bad guy in the very end. Like I don't know though. We'll see. Maybe he'll just be like, oh, Owl House, it's a really good show, but the villain was pretty weak. That could happen. I suppose that's possible. Not every show has a great villain, but sure.
So is that your number 2, Virrow? Like information about Balos? Or?
Yeah, that's actually my number 3. But yeah, that's on my list. Absolutely. I put
okay,
Balos'
so
secrets revealed.
then I guess I'll do another one, which is let's see. I mean I have them here. I just don't want to like constantly spend so much time looking over at them. Okay. King. I want to know more about King. I want to know more about him and his father and like their whole people and like what happened in the past, because it seems like King's father used to be this powerful figure, used to rule the Boiling Isles perhaps before the Titan, or not. I don't know. I've heard some people say that King's father is the Titan, but who knows?
That would be interesting.
Yeah, but before Balos took over the Boiling Isles, King's father was in power, and he was deposed by Balos and his ambitions to conquer
Man,
the Boiling Isles.
shoot.
So I think that's a really interesting thread that they could keep following. The third episode of season 2, the one where we learn about King's father, is probably one of my favorite episodes in the entire show. I was just really entranced by that. So I was hoping that they would do a lot more with that, and maybe they will in season 2B.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you saying that actually kind of hit me with a little bit of a theory here, kind of going off of what we were just talking about.
Ooh, go ahead.
How interesting would it be if it's actually King's dad turns out to be the big bad of the series?
Oh, that would be good.
It would work.
That would be subversive.
And it would work with King's whole "I'm gonna rule," blah blah blah, all that kind of like evil talk he does. That's played for laughs. If it turns out that maybe he's like he is like a bad egg from like an evil guy, he turns out to be a twist or something like that. That would be kind of interesting. Man, that would be really interesting. And then he was deposed by Balos. But yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah, I agree. That episode was really good. That was a really solid episode. It was I liked the sentimentality of it. It had a lot of like dramatic moments, which the Owl House doesn't do as much, which I liked. It worked really well by contrasting against the more lighter kind of tone.
Yeah, and speaking of the contrast between the Owl House and Amphibia, which the two of us were just talking about Amphibia before this, like Amphibia tends to have a lot of 11-minute episodes and then only do a longer episode when it has a whole bunch of plot points to just stuff into a single episode.
Stuff it all in there, yeah. Bottleneck it in there.
Amphibia bottleneck.
Yes.
But the Owl House has a little more time to kind of meditate on things or just let moments play out. Like, I love when King kind of thinks that he isn't anyone, that his entire self-perception that he's constructed for himself is kind of completely a lie. And which it kind of is and it kind of isn't, but at this point he's just completely melancholy, and then he just kind of sits out there or beneath the moon line, the tides are coming in, and then Luce goes over and comforts him. That's just a really nice moment.
Yeah,
that the show can only do because it has the time to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I actually think that I think that the shorter time constraints actually, it's got its benefits and its drawbacks, like you said. Like it had more time for that kind of dramatic moment, whereas Amphibia's got 16 minutes to get this whole thing. They gotta have their setup, they gotta do their jokes, things gotta go wrong, and then at the end they have to have some kind of moral lesson at the end, credits. So I think it leads to snappier humor in Amphibia. I think the show is funnier because they just have to go from joke to joke to joke to joke to joke. They gotta keep it moving. But absolutely.
Yeah, the Owl House has some funny moments, but I don't think it's as funny as Amphibia or as funny as most of the other like big animated shows.
Yeah. I don't typically laugh very much when I'm watching Owl House. I'm not laughing. I'm usually sitting there. I got a little smile. It's nice. It's like comfort food. It's nice. But Amphibia makes me laugh out loud. Like it breaks me sometimes with its surrealist humor, or its violence will just come out of nowhere and I'll start laughing because I have a really messed up sense of humor sometimes. But absolutely, yeah. So I guess that's kind of on my list. I have number 4 is King and his father kind of reuniting. So so I kind of want that to happen for sure.
Yeah, it's so weird what they did, where like they kind of are left to tease that out a little more, because we get the letter, and then it's not actually something that becomes an immediate plot point, because what happens is like Hootie just eat the letter, or
Hootie just ate the letter, like.
Yeah,
awful.
Goodbye, important plot point.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh jeez, that was so awful. Hootie terrifies me. he makes me uncomfortable. Like, some people say that he annoys them, but he doesn't annoy me. He just gives me, like, he creeps me out. Like, ugh. I don't know what his deal is, but his whole, like, worm demon thing, I don't like it.
Yeah, it's also so weird when he's kind of messing with King, because that's just Alex Hirsch talking to himself.
Right.
He voices both characters.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Alex Hirsch should voice every character in that show. He should voice Luz. He should voice just every character. It's just Alex Hirsch just voicing all of them. He's got the range. He can do it. I think he can pull it off. I think he's got the chops. That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, I thought that'd be really interesting. But my number 4, or number 4 is. Well, I have a couple things, but I'll just group them together here and say that I want to see more of the, not side characters, but I guess kind of side characters that have been neglected. I was talking about this in one of my previous Amphibia Owl House videos, where I used Avatar as a perfect counterexample, where in Avatar you have, like, your main characters who are important. You have, Team Avatar, you have the bad guys, and everyone knows that these are the important characters. And then you have the other characters who, some of them are characters of the day, some of them are characters who come back once or twice, but it's pretty clear that they're not crucial to the story. So, I mean, no one is going to get angry or feel disappointed if they don't see that the swamp guys in the
swamp guy. Yeah, where's the? I want a swamp guy standalone episode where none of the other characters are in it.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
No one is furious if there's not a long episode focusing on, I don't know, Haru or any of those kind of. Or the Mechanist, or Teo, like, those are secondary characters. Whereas in the Owl House, you have a lot of characters, like, I'd say everyone who's not, like, Luce, King, Ida, Hunter, Amity, or Balos, who are just, like, kind of important, but kind of not. I'm thinking of, like, Willow and Gus, but also Lilith, who seems like she's going to be an important character, and then she just leaves.
Yeah.
Part of the way through and doesn't come back. Like, and it does, doing that doesn't really work for me narratively and artistically, because they kind of give you the impression that these characters do really matter, so that when they don't get more screen time, you kind of feel disappointed and let down.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's very, very weird. I think one of the weirdest examples of what you're talking about is when they kind of did that Gus standalone episode in the first half of this last season. It was strange. It was strange to me because Gus had always kind of just been this guy who'd kind of been around, and I figured, oh well, eventually he's probably going to do something important. But then it comes to him getting his whole episode, and it basically has nothing to do with anyone else. And I'm just like, okay. Like, I like that episode. I actually really like that episode. But I was confused because I was like, wait, why are we taking an entire episode for Gus, where Willow got no screen time at all, or Lilith didn't get her own episode? It's just weird. It's strange.
It's such an odd choice, and the result of doing that is that it kind of gives the audience the expectation, like, okay, Gus is an important character. He featured heavily in this episode. He'll probably at least be a major character or a more major character in the future, and then he's just, not. He doesn't play an important role in any other episode of that season.
Yeah, it's weird. And it's like there's been a lot of stuff set up with Gus. Like, we know he's like obsessed with the human world. He has that interesting dynamic with that other kid. We know that he's can lose his corner. We know that he's really smart. We know that he has like special connection with like the dead and stuff like that. He's got like all these things we know about him. Like, they've established so many things about Gus, but like I don't think any of them are gonna matter. I don't
Yeah.
like. I don't think they're gonna come into play. Like, I don't think that him being an expert on humans or any of this stuff that they've kind of established about him is really gonna. He's not gonna show up in the last episode and with like an army of ghosts and like help fight the
You
Belos's
should have an army
armies.
of giraffes.
Yes, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Yeah.
Just as an aside, like, I know we talked about how the Owl House isn't that funny, but I absolutely found it hilarious. Like, giraffes were originally from the Boiling Isles, and then they got banished to the
That was
human world.
that's funny. That was really funny. Yeah. I don't want to say that I never laugh, but usually
Right,
I'm
yeah.
not laughing. It's not like a laugh a minute like when I'm watching like Amphibia or something. But yeah, absolutely. That was a great joke. That was a great joke.
Yeah.
Gus gets me quite a few times actually. Gus makes me laugh most of the time when he's around. He gets me. So which one am I on?
What's your number 4?
Let's see. I am on. Oh yes, more information on Philip Whitbane. I just want that all explored out. Who is he? What is his brother? Is he around or did he do something important? Is he important? Is he Gus?
That would be a twist.
Now that's a twist. That's why that's why he got his own standalone episode. Because they're setting up the twist. He's possessed by a ghost.
Yeah. The Owl House, I think, as viewers might know, was supposed to be 3 seasons, but it kind of got cut short to just 2 seasons plus a few specials. And I think that really hurts the show structurally, because if it were 3 seasons, I think I'd be more all right with what it's doing here in the mid game, kind of just setting up stories about not Gus.
Gus is the key to all of this.
Setting up stories about Philip and stories about Balos and how they're kind of connected. And we have Luce and Amity doing research on Philip, trying to figure out all the secrets about him. And then, like, by the end of season 2, you get this big revelation, everything would snap into place, and then you'd have that in place for the rest of the season, or the rest of the series in season 3. But because the show was cut short, you can't really do that. So it's a bit awkward that we're left kind of with this mystery that hints are being revealed about very slowly. Because we know that there's not a lot of time left, and the show really has to not only solve the mystery and kind of justify why we're spending so much time on the hunt to find the truth about Philip Whitbane, but like transition from that moment of discovery into this final narrative arc of the show wherein we have the final confrontation with Balos, or if it's not Balos, whoever else it might be, who's
Gus.
the big villain of the show. Yes,
the final showdown with Gus.
Our major villain. He's been masterminding the whole thing.
There's been all these clues, and we haven't seen nobody. All the millions of people watching this, none of us clocked any of them. It's gonna be the most incredible twist of all time. There's gonna be a montage where they flash back to all of the scenes with Gus, where he's doing all these actions. He's like the mastermind behind everything.
Going on to our 5th things, I believe. My 5th thing is that we get some sort of closure on the promise we see Luce make in the end of yesterday's lie, when she doesn't really want to promise that she'll go back to Earth, but she does because her mom's distraught and she's terrified that she'll never see her again. Like, I actually really like the mid-season finale of The Owl House. I did not see it coming. Completely caught me off guard. I think it's really daring. I was expecting something to do with the Day of Unity, something to do with Balos or Hunter. Instead, like, all those plots are kind of pushed off to the side, and we get this really interesting exploration of Luce kind of coming back, and there's V who had kind of taken her place, and they're happy, but Luce disrupts that, reveals that she's the real Luce, and then she lets slip that she chose to stay in the owl house in the Boiling Isles,
Mm-hmm.
and that she didn't want to come home. And her mother is, I think, quite understandably kind of
Yeah.
taken aback by that. So we're left in this really uncomfortable situation where Luce makes a promise she knows she does not really want to keep, and so she is really anxious by the mid-season, and I hope that we see that explored a little more, even with all the grandeur and the bombast I'm sure we're going to get in season 2B, because that's an interesting plot thread. That's an interesting scenario and set of relationships that's really worth exploring.
Yeah, and it works
What
out
did
because she has a bunk bed. Luce has a bunk bed, so
yeah, I was wondering about that bunk bed. Like, why does Luce have a bunk bed?
so that she and V can both have beds later on.
Yeah,
That's my guess. My guess is that it's just for later. It doesn't make logical sense in the universe. It's just for later for the story. It's funny.
Luce secretly knew that all this was going to happen later, so she had her mother get bunk beds for her room.
Oh, maybe Gus was behind it. Maybe V was like, "Hey, it's a good thing we have bunk beds," and then Luce was like, "Wait, I don't have a bunk bed." And then like Gus emerges from the shadows, like, "I know you didn't."
Gus is behind everything.
That's amazing.
Well, what did you think of that mid-season finale?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Yeah, I thought it was really solid and heartfelt, and I really liked Luce's mom getting a little bit more of characterization, since all we'd really seen of her was her kind of being upset with Luce in the very first episode. So it was nice getting to meet her and getting like a more well-rounded, picture of her. Like, oh yeah, she's a mom. She was just upset with Luce at that time. She's not like a bad parent,
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think that a lot of people in the fandom are kind of overly harsh on Luce's mom, and which kind of irritated me for a little bit, and then I realized, oh wait, like, I'm older than a lot of these people.
Yeah, I was going to say like that if you didn't say 16,
it. 14, like, they're probably have all these kind of angsty, tense relationships with their mom.
Yeah, they're all just like, man, why doesn't she just like let Luce do like whatever? She's like, she just wants what's best for you. Like, we see that from our perspective, but from the younger people, absolutely. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So what's your number 5?
All right. It's just a shot. One shot that I want. I want a Luce and Amity kiss. Like an actual kiss. I don't want no hand-holding, vague, walking into a light, end of Korra kind of implied thing.
Right.
I want end of Avatar The Last Airbender, music swells, the two like people kiss, and then the end, happy. That's all I want. Like, I want that just about more than anything else in the show. I just want, come on, Disney, you cowards. You'll let the background characters kiss. Let your main characters kiss. They love each other. Like, come on. I hope Disney doesn't see this. I'll never get to work.
So, do we have any final thoughts? Any closing remarks?
Final thoughts are, what do you think, I guess it's just a question. What do you think is going to happen in the very next episode? Do you think we're going to hop right into plot or back to like status quo, happy Owl House stuff?
Well, the Owl House does tend to be more serialized than, say, Amphibia. I think we're going to transition into, if not like, 0 all the way up to 10 intensity, then at least to a good 7 or 8. Like, we're going to see a lot of disruptions, a lot of tension erupting everywhere. Next episode is like Follies at the Coven Day Parade. Oh, yeah. So the Coven system has been portrayed pretty negatively throughout the show, so I think we're going to learn some more dark secrets about it.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. Yeah. I want to know. Honestly, I just want this. I just wanted to get right into the story, because time is short. They were planning on 3 seasons. They've only got half a season left. Like, oh yeah, I did want to ask you though. Do you think that the show is going to actually wrap up at the end of the season, or do you think it's going to cliffhang, and the story's actually going to end in these 3 specials that are coming next year?
Well, that's actually interesting. I mean, I don't think I mean, wow, now that you're asking me that, I'm kind of second guessing myself. I always thought that like it would just be a season ending when we get to season 2B and its finale, and then the final show ending would be in the specials.
Right. But what's her name?
It would be even worse for the show if they had to like get to a real climactic show ending by the end of season 2B, and the specials were just like, Steven Universe future style specials, where that
would be really weird.
Takes place after the end of the show.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to like a time jump, losing Amity as older adults living in the big city, and there's some kind of magic shenanigans or something. That could be interesting. But what's her name? I think Dana Terrace, the showrunner or producer, so whoever she is for the Owl House, she said that the 3 specials are going to be season 3, and that made me think, so are they going to be cramming most of the plot lines for the 3rd season into those specials, and that this season 2 is not going to wrap up, but is instead going to ramp up and be
like, right.
Oh my god, the portal is open. Balos' army is invading the human world. Credits. Wait till next year. We'll get a 40-minute Owl House episode or something like that. 3 40-minute episodes or.
Yeah, I think the 40-minute format would be best if we do kind of wrap up everything in season 2, but the big conclusion, and then it's just these like maybe there's some calm before the storm stuff in the first of the specials, but most of the specials are dedicated to these huge battles and climactic sequences. Right. And then we get the big ending and like midway through the 3rd special, or maybe 3/4 of the way through, and then we get our long epilogue where Luce and Amity are happy together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'd be really, really cool. I would be so down with that. Like, what's it called? Weirdmageddon, the finale, the 3-part finale for Gravity Falls. That was 3 episodes, and it was awesome. So they could easily like do a big movie length kind of 3-episode finale. I think that would be interesting. So I guess the consensus is we don't know, huh? Which either way, huh?
Yeah, it's impossible to know, but I am leaning more toward the show not wrapping everything up by the end of the 2B episodes.
Yeah. One moment that I don't know if it's going to come or not, but I'm really curious to see if they'll go there because they haven't set it up at all, is I'm wondering, because like Luz is going to go back to the human world eventually, right? So where does that
I don't know.
Where does that leave her and Amity? Right? Like I mean, I'm just assuming that she's going to have to go back there, and there's going to be this sad moment where she has to leave her behind. Maybe when the finale will be like the 2 worlds merging, and then like they'll put them back the way they're supposed to be, and they'll be like, okay, everything needs to go back the way it was, and that means Luz needs to go back to the human world, and it's going to be like this big sad thing, bittersweet kind of happy ending thing. I don't know. I just don't know that with that show. It's hard to predict Owl House. It's really hard to predict that show.
Yeah, but you can at least predict the format, that it is going to be more serialized. There is going to be a bit more drama, and that's going to be ramping up in intensity. I guarantee you that they are not going to spend the next 10 episodes with King just wandering around the human world and going,
oh, jeez.
That's a microwave!
That's a microwave! Ida wants to become a Hollywood star, but there's another woman who looks exactly like her. And then she'll do a commercial, which people don't watch anymore anyway. They all watch ads on their phones, which are like tailored to the individual. So you don't really have like those viral commercials anymore.
For anyone who doesn't get what we're talking about, go watch Amphibia.
I will never. I don't think I'm ever gonna. I'm gonna be salty about this for a while. I think a little low key salty about this. But anyway.
So I think that's a good place to wrap it up for now. It's been wonderful talking with you, Virrow.
Oh, likewise. Yeah, I always enjoy getting to chat with my favorite shows with you.
Yeah, and if you liked our chat, like and subscribe. Keep watching Owl House. Go watch Amphibia if you haven't. That's a great show too. Airing episodes also starting on March 19th. And go check out Virrow's channel. It's great. There's a lot of hilarious videos there. Subscribe to his channel. And if nothing else, go check out part 1 of our conversation on Amphibia over on his channel.
Thanks, yeah, and everybody, if you're here for me, I know we share a lot of subscribers, but if somebody's here who's subscribed to me but not to Joshua, hit that subscribe button. It's free. It takes you like 1 second, but it helps us out a lot, so that would be great.
And thank y'all. Really appreciate y'all paying attention and really having this chat with us about these shows. If you have any comments, leave them below. Otherwise, adios, comrades.